好，同志们，我们回到来的，我们是中国现在，China Now with your gang of two, Nansu, who is the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times, and yours truly, Michael Olson, who long ago was dissuaded from being a China hand by the great helmsman himself, Mao Zedong. I guess it was Mao Zedong that convinced me that there was no way out for the Chinese Communist Party. They would always be the party who would gun down their citizens to protect themselves. And that's pretty much proved to be the case on June 4, 1989, when the Chinese Communist Party rolled its tanks into Tien An Men Square and gunned down thousands and thousands of students. So today, June 4, we remember that day. And we remember it because of all of those people who gave up their lives in a desperate cry for freedom from the warden and his guards. So Nansu, been a wild week because of that, in my estimation. So let's turn to some of the contemporary things happening. And one of them is that Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, went over to visit his confreres around the world at the Shangri-La Military Summit. Now, one of the interesting things about this summit is that the Chinese Communist Party would not allow Taiwan to attend this military summit. And the people who put on the summit in Singapore go along with it. And there we are. Now, when a couple years ago, I guess it was now, Lloyd Austin, who was the Secretary of Defense for the United States, as opposed to the Secretary of War, went over to Singapore, flew from Washington, D.C., all the way over to Singapore for this event, the Shangri-La Summit, as it's called. And the Chinese Secretary of Defense would not even shake his hand. Remember that one?
Yep, yep. He tried to say a few words to greet Chinese Secretary of Defense, and the guy just say hello to him and just sit down and talk about nothing, and just stop the conversation right there.
It was another in a long line of kicking sand in our face by the CCP. Uh, One of the most memorable ones was up in Anchorage for that summit as well. And the Secretary of State for China said, you folks in the United States have no cause to talk with us at all about human rights or anything. And it just humiliated our Secretary of State at the time. So at least Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, when he went to Singapore this past week, he stood up and had a statement, made a statement, but it was clearly calibrated not to derail President Trump's efforts to manage tensions with China. So he did not talk about Taiwan. He did not bring it up.
Well, he talked about a little bit, not just not as he softened quite a bit comparing with last year's speech, because last year he basically said that the war in the Western Pacific it's imminent. Now this year he softened a little bit, which is understandable. Why? Because I think the ongoing war in Iran that basically made it very clear to Beijing that if they want to start a military attack to Taiwan, they're going to have no oil, right? So that, and the blockade in of the current blockade by the U.S. military basically shows China that if they want to start a war, now see, right now China's still getting oil from the Middle East, just
Yeah.
not go just not through the Strait of Hormuz, just not through the Strait of Hormuz, not directly from Iran.
Well,
But
it's
they are
just
still
coming
getting.
through their ghost fleet, correct?
Well, no, they can't get the oil from Iran because it's a blockade.
Or
Now
Saudi Arabia.
but yeah, they are still getting the oil from Saudi Arabia through the Red Sea, through the Gulf of Eden. They're going that route, right? But however, what Trump did through this blockade is to showing them, we have a full capacity. If you want, start a military attack, then there'll be no oil for
There
you.
will be no oil because we know where all your ships are.
Right. Now, so I think that it's time to make it, that's what the Trump went to Beijing. It's about, you you master all China's most of China's oil supply. Seven, 70 more than about half of total oil consumption of China actually are from Middle East. Right now they are still getting,
Which is close.
right, right. So if they start a military attack, then there will be no oil for them. Half of their total oil consumption are gone. So and China only have 3.5 months of strategic oil reserve. So that I think that Beijing already learned that. So it's time to soften a little bit to basically. Uh, to show them gestures how to get along with us.
So there you go, which is a reasonable thing to do. You go over there to make peace, and you don't want your Secretary of Defense throwing mud in their face, kicking sand in their face, um, like they did in their Wolf Warrior period. And they seem to be tempering their Wolf Warrior-ness a little bit throughout the world. So maybe we can cool things down a bit. But it seems hard to do when we're at war with one of their chief allies in Iran. So we'll see. And their other one, Russia, in Ukraine. So we'll see if we can come to any kind of agreement. What kind of agreement can we come to with China? I haven't been able to figure that out. Trump,
Well,
Trump wants to make a deal, but what is the deal?
there is no deal when Trump visited Beijing, right?
Correct.
The both sides didn't have any deal, and any of a joint statement were made. So basically, it's kind of like Beijing realized the challenge facing them, and then uh, Trump went there basically just he got what Trump got is like Xi Jinping admit that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, right? So
Or
uh,
at least Trump says that.
well, Trump says that while Xi Jinping is sitting right next to him, right?
Yeah.
So when Trump and Xi Jinping most both sitting there and then surrounded by the international media, and they talk to answer the questions to the media about what they talk about one on one the night before. You know, so uh so Trump says, Xi Jinping admitted, you know, Iran should not have nuclear media, and Xi Jinping just sitting right next to him. He didn't say anything,
They didn't say anything. That's great. So,
right? So if he doesn't agree, he should have say something because this is a very important statement, and he didn't say nothing. Then basically he agreed, right? So that's what Trump achieved. Now, um, th- I think that go back to your question, what China and United States can agree. I don't think they need to agree anything. See, right now China has
ah,
they don't agree with anything, because we are opposed to each other. So as long as we can,
fundamentally opposed to each other.
yeah, as
Uh,
long as we can maintain the peace, I think that's it.
yeah.
As long as, and then I think that Trump, when Xi Jinping said, he want to take Taiwan, Trump didn't say anything, but because, and then like Trump didn't back off. He didn't. Basically that based on the State Department say our one China policy has never changed. Now keep in mind, one China policy in the United States, the one China policy is totally different than China's one China principle. These are two totally different things, orange and apple. When United States said we have a one China policy, that basically means United States acknowledge that Taiwan is a part of China. Now, but not People's Republic of China. These are two different things. China and People's Republic of China are two different things. Keep in mind, Taiwan's government is named the Republic of China.
Yes.
So when we say Taiwan is a part of China, basically we admit culturally, historically, race-wise, or geographically, Taiwan is a part of China. But the United States never admit Taiwan is a part of the Communist China, which is the People's Republic of China. So, well,
And
think about it.
the same principle applies to Iran as well. In China, you have an organization that took over China. It is not China, it is the Chinese Communist Party. It is not China, it is an organization that runs China. Not even the People's Liberation Army of China does not belong to China. It belongs to the Chinese Communist Party. So it's like the administration of a prison that is controlling China in the same way that the mullahs or the religious people of Iran are not the Persian people. They're a separate organization that has taken over the country. And that's how I'm starting to see this situation. So when I think of China, I'm not thinking of the Chinese Communist Party. I'm thinking of the culture that existed for 8,000 years and that has been taken over by a foreign body. Like
Yeah, you think about that, the way we said Taiwan, it's a part of China culturally, historically, geographically. That's no different than saying that's totally no different than saying Taiwan is a part of Asia, right? Because Taiwan historically, culturally and geographically, they're part of Asia. So, see, the key here is we never admit Taiwan is a part of communist China. That's what our one China policy is. Now, so Trump did not back off from that standpoint. That's very important. So that make it, so basically Trump didn't give up anything during his visit to Beijing, except he got Xi Jinping's basically say, hey, Taiwan, Iran cannot have nuclear weapon.
probably said the same thing about Taiwan as well. They can't have one either. But North Korea can have one. So I'm still confused. I suspect Xi Jinping would love for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Because
I don't think so,
you
actually.
don't think so? Okay. Well,
See, Iran and North Korea are totally different, right? North
uh,
Korea, Kim Jong-un want to have a good life. If he wants to, when he wants to actually have uh, he not only want to not only want to have a good life, he actually want to have a luxury life. And
Yes,
if
but
he wants to have a luxury life, that basically means he's not going to actually use the nuclear weapon.
yeah,
But
but
Iran is different. Iran, they want to use nuclear weapon because they want to go to heaven.
yeah. Well, I see North Korea. If I were a Japanese, I would see North Korea as being the angry pit bull on the end of a very short leash that lives next door. And whenever you walk into the to your yard, that dog is there barking at you, want to take a bite out of your leg. That is what North Korea looks like. If I were a Japanese, that's how I would see them. And I think that's what a great asset to China. In the same way that Iran would be a great asset to China if it were armed with an atomic bomb, and it would be a complete terrorist threat to all of the neighbors of the Persian Gulf and the Middle East. So I think that would be a great asset to the Chinese Communist Party.
But anyway, I think that it was a great achievement for Trump to go to Beijing to to get Xi Jinping agree that that Iran should not have nuclear weapon.
Okay, I'll concede that one to you. Let's turn to the other warfare that the Chinese Communist Party is conducting against the United States and the world. And it appears to be a war in which it is very successful. And I'm speaking of its war of mercantilism against the world, in which China becomes the manufacturer for the world, and in doing so, gains strength through its balance of trade. It sells things to us, and it doesn't buy much from us. And in that imbalance, it stocks up on gold and precious metals and becomes rich and wealthy and strong. Now, that has worked very well for China over the last 40 years, as you and I have often talked about. We have given them our industries and in order to buy cheap stuff. And as a consequence, our balance of trade is way out of balance. They buy, they sell stuff to us and they buy very little from us. And that is the strength. Now, Trump stepped in and started instituting tariffs and tried to reverse that mercantilism of China. And as a consequence, many of China's traditional markets have dissipated or disappeared. And now China has to find new markets, which it has done throughout the developing world, but also in Europe. And Europe is starting to wake up to the fact that it is becoming getting hollowed out by China. And in Germany, for example, uh, they look at it as it was expressed as feed, trap, and kill. So China comes into Germany as it did in the United States. It gains a market share with cheap goods, and it invites German industry into China. As you have mentioned, the giant chemical company that's moving into China, and it brings that industry in, it feeds it, it gets it going, and then it traps it, and then it kills it, chases it away, and leaving the industry there for the Chinese. We've seen that happen with Tesla, and the Chinese invited Elon Musk into China, He brought his Tesla automobile factories there, and he showed the Chinese how to do it. And they did it. And now you have a situation where China is flooding the world with their EVs. And now Germany is trying to come to grips with this, with the fact that they too are getting hollowed out, as was the United States, and is trying to stand up to them. But I see where the German government, in the form of their, um, let's see, German economy and energy minister Catherine Reich, went to Beijing with a right after Trump left with a contingent of 40 top business people and is looking to engage China in some kind of a deal that is reciprocal. Do you think they can ever find that reciprocal trade agreement with China, that with a country that relies on mercantilism to build its strength against the world?
Yeah, well, you cannot. I don't think that, I think the European countries are now seeing the real threat, right? So that's why just like this past week, they had a meeting. The EU committee, EU Council had a meeting, which is for it's which is a preparation for the EU national leaders summit
On May,
on the 18th
yeah,
of this month. So they are
G7 summit. It's a G7 summit. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have their summit, and then they're going to talk about the cheap products from China, right? So I think that they realize this is a threat. Well, it's kind of in many aspects, it's too late. For example, the EVs. China already occupied the whole European countries' EV market. What are you going to do? I mean, it's so cheap. And then they have
And then they're losing their industries too. You look at Volkswagen and BMW in Germany, for example, and you have these cheap EVs flooding into the market. Why are they cheap? Because they've been subsidized from the very get-go by the CCP.
yep.
And so it's like a weapon of war. And in a world of free, what we call free trade. So they're actually getting hollowed out and getting destroyed by stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And so now the policy for the European Council is de-risking. What is de-risking? Well, it means we have to figure out how to get out from under this. But as you say, Nansu, how can Europe get out of it when they've already welcomed it? It's kind of like, how do we control this incredible influx of people from other worlds and other cultures into our country? And how do we de-risk ourselves from the impact of these people in our culture? It's you've accepted it, it's there. Now you have Sharia law in your village, in your communities. You have places you can't even allow Germans or French or English people to go in your own country because you've accepted all of these migrants. And the same is true by accepting Chinese stuff. So you're kind of destroying your own country.
That's it. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's kind of too late. But it's at least it's better than doing now than later, right?
Better now. Yeah, I guess so. And it's kind of like the same thing Trump did when it appeared to you and I that it was already too late. How are you going to save America? Well, what Trump did is he set up trade barriers. and said you can't bring that stuff into our country. And now the European Commission, at least, is starting to say the same thing. And I've seen a lot of news releases and stories where African nations are starting to rebel as well against the same mercantilism of China, where they're saying enough is enough. You're destroying our you're hollowing out our economy. We're going to die. At least, so it seems. Well, so it seems. And here we are at the break. So when we come back from a very short break, we're going to talk about how the countries that are surrounded or that surround China in the South China Sea, the means they are taking now to defend themselves against the China that now claims the entire South China Sea belongs to it. What are these people like Vietnam and the Philippines and Malaysia and so on? How are they going to defend themselves against these artificial islands, against the largest navy in the world? What means are they going to take to defend themselves? So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared, twice daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito, easy in and out location in the Capitola Mall food court. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
This is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at my restaurant, Kaito.
California coast to the fertile valleys inland. Earthwise Land Service is your land's best friend. Earthwise can clear it, mulch it, move it, sculpt it, grade it, drain it, or retain it, any way you choose. Earthwise Land Service is your land's best friend.
Hi, I'm Carolyn, and I have some property behind my home at Larkin Valley that I've never seen. It was completely overgrown with brush and poison oak, well over 10 feet high. I wanted to have it cleared to protect my horses from wildfires, but nobody could do the job. Then I called Buck at Earthwise. Buck brought out his big brush-eating machine and turned all the brush and poison oak into mulch. It was truly transformational. Thanks to Earthwise, my property is now like a park and I can trail ride my horses.
Earthwise Land Service is your land's best friend.
There is more than one way to enjoy the benefits of cannabis. Hi, I'm Carly from Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 Soquel Drive, SoCal. With tinctures. Treehouse tinctures are available in many different flavors, are rapid acting and versatile, and offer precise dosage control for consistent enjoyment. Treehouse has a friendly staff to help you select the right tincture for your needs. Blue raspberry, anyone? Stop by and say hi. Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 Soquel Drive, SoCal.
Or ourtreehouse.io.
We are back, Woman with a Lida. We're looking at a map of the South China Sea, which is the home, according to the CCP, of the Chinese Communist Party. Nansu, the map, according to the CCP, contains the 9-dash line. Would you explain that?
Yeah, then it's a 9-dash line that's circulate around the entire South China Sea, and so basically China claimed inside the 9-dash line, which is 90% of the area of the entire South China Sea, it's the sovereignty of the communist China. Now that historically the 9-dash line used to be 11-dash line. Now the 11-dash line came from a few hundred years ago. I forgot. There was either a European navigator or a Japanese navigator. He was, doing the early few hundred years ago, that kind of exploration and adventure, that he's sailing through the South China Sea, and then while he was sailing around the world, and he also trying to make a map about the places that he went, he passed by. So he basically, when he passed by South China Sea, he's just draw us a kind of a dash line on his map, 11 dash line, total 11 dash line on his map, say this is part of China. Yeah, it could be anybody. You could be anybody draw anything and say, oh, this is a part of China, or maybe this is a part of the United States, or whatever. It's just a random. And then China would just basically took it to say, oh, okay,
This is
a few
ours.
hundred years ago there was a guy who claimed this is a part of China, therefore this is our sovereignty. It's basically. The guy doesn't have any legal authority to do that, right? He's
But
drawing his own
they
map.
did it, of course, and
He
they
did it was just because he's drawing his own map. This is
yeah.
what he believed.
And
Uh,
this is ours, and we're taking it now to enforce its claim on the South China Sea. If you look at the map, you see it's all the South China Sea is almost like a big lake. On the northern part of the border, you have China with the province of Fujian, and then across the straits you have Taiwan, and then due south of Taiwan you have the Philippines, and then you have Indonesia and the bottom of it, and then on the west side you have Vietnam. So it's kind of like a big lake. Now, to enforce its ownership of this big lake, China has built of artificial islands right in the middle of it. So you have these artificial islands that have been turned into massive military bases throughout the middle of the South China Sea. Now, the Philippines sued in international court saying, hey, you can't just take the ocean like that and own it with your islands. You can't do this. And the international court found it to be contrary to the freedom of the seas, that is the international standard. And China said, I don't care what you say. These are our islands, and this is our lake, and we own it. Now, that's kind of a frightening thing for Taiwan and the Philippines and Indonesia and Vietnam, the countries that are on the other side of the lake. Here, China has militarized the middle of the lake. So, what are we going to do? So, we have to figure out how to arm ourselves to protect ourselves, right? So the Philippines and Vietnam have recently agreed to upgrade their relationship to an enhanced strategic partnership. Nancy, what could that possibly mean? You have these two countries.
well, this is it's not going anywhere. Those it's just more of a kind of like a gesture type of agreement, because China, Vietnam also had this strategic relation with the United States, as well as in China, as well as with China. So Vietnam just used that as a gesture, because Vietnam also had a territory territory dispute with China, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I think that we need to focus on the threat from the CCP. Vietnam, it's just like a flip flop, that kind of thing.
Well,
Uh,
Vietnam will do whatever it can to survive, but
Yeah,
I guess
well,
the
they're not going to they're not going to be able to do anything, because they're just like at the doorstep of China, right? And
yeah.
also they have this very close party relation between the Vietnamese Communist Party and Chinese Communist Party. They had a very close relation. It's almost as close as, the relation between China and North Korea. So what are they going to do? Anything? Can we count on them on anything? I
Well,
don't think.
what they are doing, both Vietnam and the Philippines and Indonesia, is that they're buying anti-ship missiles from India. Now, India has been working with Russia to build these anti-ship missiles, and so Vietnam is putting these anti-ship missiles into its up in a north coast by Hanoi and down on the south coast. So the north coast anti-ship missiles are in direct reach of China's naval base on Hainan Island, and the missiles in the south are can easily reach these artificial islands in the South China Sea. And then the Philippines also are putting in these anti-ship missile installations on throughout the island chain, and then in the South Indonesia
Hey,
is
hey, Mike,
yes.
it really depending on which angle you're looking at.
Okay.
Let me say this. If Beijing and Vietnam tomorrow, say if Beijing and Vietnam make an agreement that China will just give up couple islands in the South China Sea, just two of them, probably gave to Vietnam, and Vietnam will turn those missiles around and help China to invade the South China Sea.
Could happen, that's for sure.
See, so Vietnam, you can't trust them. They have a very close party relation between Vietnamese Communist Party and Chinese Communist Party, and
And well,
they
Vietnam,
could make agreement anytime.
it's also interesting too because Vietnam now has a very lucrative relationship with the United States of America, in that so much of what had been manufactured in China, in Guangdong, for example, is now manufactured in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah.
So Vietnam,
All those things can change overnight.
yeah.
Okay, so I think we just need to focus on the threat from China. I don't think we need to really have too much rosy picture about the future of
Well, I don't
Vietnam.
think
I
there's
don't
any.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree
it's
with
not
you.
going to. I think this is a really long-term goal. And then before the collapse of a communist regime in China, I don't think Vietnam is. We can count on Vietnam on anything. Um,
No, I agree with you, but I think it's interesting how the countries that surround the South China Sea are now arming up with their own anti-ship missile batteries. So to counter or to cooperate with, who knows,
Yeah,
China.
you don't know, right? You
You
don't
don't
know.
know.
They can cooperate with China.
Yeah.
Uh, Vietnam, I'm talking about. They have a very close, party relationship. Vietnamese Communist Party Secretary General Su Lin has a very close relation with Xi Jinping. He's probably going to be the next Vietnamese Xi Jinping very soon. I
There you
mean,
go.
yeah. So, I think that the alarming things happening this past week is China conducted one of the it's a aircraft carrier military drill, a naval drill, on the east side of Bashi Channel, and that's a strait that's between south part of Taiwan and north part of the Philippines. Now they are conducting the largest naval drill on the east side, not on the west side. The west side is facing China on the east side.
So
They are
that
on the
would not
other
be
side.
their lake.
Yeah.
They
So they
cruised
are on
outside
the
their lake.
yeah, they are on the so they are on the
Internationally.
east side of Taiwan and the east side of the Philippines, And also that the location, it's within 400 miles from the southeast side of Japan. See, that's what they're doing. I think that all these things, it's very much alarming, and I don't think the gesture agreement between Philippines and Vietnam will actually mean anything.
No.
If there is a war that breaks out in the Western Pacific, in the South China Sea, between China and Philippines, or between China and Japan, or between China and Taiwan, I don't think Vietnam is going to do anything. They're going to just throw their hands in the air and they just watch it happen. So, I think that in the important part of it is how we're going to defend the peace. I think Trump really need to finish this Iran thing very very fast, and only way he can finish it very fast is to restart the military operation. Trump said next week it's going to be a deal. I don't think so. I
There's
think it's
not gonna there's
forever.
not gonna be any deal.
It's not going to happen. I think the only way it's going to happen is he need to start a military operation. Now you see that the Republican congressional representative, they are start citing the Democrats. Now Trump is in the dilemma. Either way, okay, either way, he's going to see a split of Republican Party. Now, if he continue this negotiation, he's going to see more and more Republicans on the Democrat side. If he gave up, he gave up the request to ask Iran to give up its enriched uranium. There is another,
Yeah.
portion of the Republican Party going to split off. So he need to I think he has no choice. He
What
need to go
choice
there
does he
to
have? Yeah.
start to finish wherever he started.
Yeah. And there it is. You either fight or you flee, right? You either
But he
fight or
cannot
flee.
flee, right? He's into the at the point he cannot. If he just turn around and walk away. Guess what? Israel is not going to be happy. Or the GC nations,
Yeah.
they're going to flip flop to
All of
Iran
our
because Iran,
all of our allies in the Gulf,
they
in the
are going to
Persian
be
Gulf.
gone because they
Yeah.
are afraid of the nuclear weapon from Iran.
So he's kind of painted himself in a corner.
No, no, no. He need to go back. He's not in the corner. He has the most powerful U.S. military, under his command. He need to use it.
And he doesn't have any choice but to use them.
Yeah, I don't think he has any choice. And other tries to, quit dragging things around. You can do it. Just do it now instead of later. The longer he drags on, the more problems he created for himself and for the U.S. military too.
So you see no hope in the blockade. You see no hope in the
The
ceasefire.
blockade is doing its work, but it's not enough.
Not
Again and
fast enough.
again, that let me see it. Let me repeat it. The Trump and his administration underestimate the level of brutality of the regime. The blockade, the blockade probably take another 40 years to work. And if you think you can use the blockade to change the regime, wait another 40 years. That's what it is.
And the ceasefire itself.
See,
What
the
purpose?
ceasefire is the problem that create every problems that follows up. That cannot cease fire. You've only if Iranian regime want to negotiate, you negotiate with them with the military operation ongoing. If we are running out of munitions in the Middle East, fine, slow down the attack. Instead of making attack every day, you'd attack it like once a 3 days. That's fine, but never stop the attack. And if they want to come negotiate, they come. At their will, not because at the price of a ceasefire. I think that's the only way he can solve the problem.
Well, as I suggested last hour, I think I'm pretty much in agreement with you, but I think he can do a lot more to accelerate the impact of the blockade by shutting off all um, entrances to Iran, by
Yeah, I
shutting
agree
off,
with you. If he wants to do that, that's fine.
yeah.
Because he doesn't even have to do that. Just let the Israeli Air Force to do that. I think they'll be happy to do it. Just gave the job to Israel. And, the U.S. military will, the Air Force and the Naval Force will focus on decapitate all these hardline regime leaders, and then give the job to Israel Air Force. Let them bomb the port at the Caspian Sea. Let them bomb the China to Europe railway that's going through
Yeah. Shut off
Iran.
all entrances to Iran. Well,
Yeah,
President Trump, Nansu, and I pretty much agree. We agree, one, that the ceasefire isn't working. It is
let's
not
send a telegraph
it
to
is
White
not
House.
achieving your objective of forcing the Iranians into an agreement. The ceasefire will not do that. They will simply use that time
To drag
to
on. It makes things more and
drag
more
on
complicated.
toward their promised land of the fall elections in the United States. If they can get the Democrats elected, do what they can to get the Democrats elected, Trump will spend the rest of his time, his 2 years in office, going through impeachments and stuff. So that's how they can win this battle. That's how Iran can win. As simple as
Well,
that.
he need
That's
to
what
add a
they're
quick. I don't think he has much time left. I
so
don't think
so
Trump
there
has much
there's
time
the
left.
time constraint. Okay,
Right.
you can't drag this on forever. Therefore, ceasefires do will never work. Period.
That's right.
It will not work.
Well, you will work if Trump give up the request of taking their enriched uranium. It
Yes.
will. That's the only way it will work. But I don't think Trump can do that because he do that. He
That's his
doesn't.
one, yeah, that's his thing. So ceasefire will not work. Will the blockade work? Yes. If you wait 9, 10, 15 years, maybe it'll work. Will the blockade work if you accelerate it by going back to war, to a kinetic war with Iran, in which you block all the entrances and you refuse entrance to China and to Russia in resupplying Iran? You got to, if you're going to blockade it, you have to shut it all down. You have to blow up the railroad bridges. You have to close the highways. You have to close the ports. You have to shut it all down totally.
You know that because Trump can do that. Actually, he's able to. If Trump doesn't want to do it, just have an Israeli military do it, and they
Everybody
were happy
hates
to do it.
Israel already,
Yeah,
so
because Trump is facing all these issues, all these like war crimes, and the people here in the free world, they enjoy themselves, the freedom, and then they don't care about the human rights in China. They care about the regime. They care. They don't care about the human rights in Iran. They care about the regime. That's what they do. I mean, I think
and
that
there's proof positive in that in the Tien An Men Square massacre, which we are remembering today, June 4, 1989, to demonstrate how much the Chinese Communist Party does not care about the welfare of its citizens.
same
It's
thing happening in Iran
and
too.
the same thing is happening in Iran. So that is who we are battling against. And if we don't win that battle, if we don't stop China from
In
taking over
Iran.
yeah,
and
And they,
nobody else would. Think about if the U.S. military cannot stop Iranian regime, who will? You think those European countries will? You think that France and Germany and UK will? No way. I mean, they don't even dare to to defend their own ships when their own ships attacked by Iranian regime by IRGC. It's like an attack to their sovereignty. They don't even stand against the regime attacking their sovereignty. I mean, we can't count on them and on anything.
so Trump has a decision to make. Delay.
And he better be quick. Tomorrow will be Friday. Hey, tomorrow night, go bomb Iran. I think that's the best thing, to end this.
And do it in a strategic way that harms as few people of the Persian people as possible and takes out as many as the IRGC as possible. So get rid of as many bad guys as you can and leave as many good guys as you can. But you have to, I'm afraid there's no choice.
I think we have an excellent military, which is powerful, and then they are fully capable of doing that to minimize the civilian loss and to maximize uh, uh, the result of decapitating the hardline leaders. I think that it's a totally possible. It's just waiting for the Trump to make that decision. He just keep dragging things on.
Why?
I think he and Scott Bason, they both just looking at us at the Dow Jones and Nasdaq every day. I think they don't want to see that drop.
And it did drop yesterday. On probably on the discouraging news that Trump has not yet been able to get a great big deal. I don't think he will get a great big deal from the Iranian mullahs and the IGRC. They have everything to lose and nothing to gain by agreeing with Trump, other than the fact that Trump might drop a few bombs on them, which they're fully prepared to survive.
That's
So,
right. So I don't think they're going to make a concession. So just do it. Don't wait. It doesn't. It's just never going to happen. It's just never going to happen.
well, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Do you think there is the possibility of making a deal with Iran? Do you think they will make a deal? It's from our perspective, Nansu and Michael Olson's here on China Now, we just don't see it. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. And we look toward the coming week and see if something will happen. We don't know. It doesn't look very favorable. It just doesn't. And that's the perspective from Tien An Men Day here on China Now. Remember those who were taken from us in their quest for freedom all over the world. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Nansu. Always fun.